Oh, I'm live. Hi, guys. It's Alan. It's been a little while, probably a few weeks at least, since I've been on. And again, talking about being a targeted individual. For people who have never, if you've never heard of it, in essence, what we're talking about is we're everyday people that are going through what the news called Havanna syndrome. When the FBI and the CIA were getting bombarded with microwave radiation and to where they double over in pain and get neurological damage and puking and just vertigo and just brain damage. And that was covering the news every few months. It was like they knew that there were thousands of us, everyday people, going through the same thing and complaining about it. But who are we going to complain to? So they had to put a scapegoat other country out there: Cuba, China, Russia. And those countries do have it. They have the same thing. I noticed that when it comes to the FBI and CIA, and a couple Canadians too that had it, but it was always the United States people that got it, is that they never got the other stuff that we as TIs have, and that's V2K, voice to skull, which is a military technology using the Frey microwave hearing effect. And Dr. Robert Duncan talks about how that is manifested, how they use that. And then a technology that uses synthetic telepathy, whereas you hear the voices from the V2K describe, even in your silent thoughts, it being read out to you by them audibly. But somebody standing right next to you wouldn't be able to. Now, when I started getting the V2K and all that in 2015, 2016, it was just noise coming up from my baseboards. People, some weird technology, somebody playing a joke on me, I thought, for months. It was cruel, but I thought somebody was just playing a joke. I didn't have any enemies. But I knew for 30 years I had this constant side pain still. And it was just sent me to pain specialists, sent me to OHSU, nothing. And I was thankful, very thankful, at least my doctors sent me to a specialist for pain medication, because I just figured, well, doctors don't know everything. But at least they sent me to specialists to get medication to help with it. And I didn't think anything that, I thought when I broke my arm and separated my shoulder in high school, maybe there was a mix-up, but I never had a rib problem or down here. It was always up here. And they fixed it, and in time, this was all fine. But then suddenly I started getting all this side pain, like when you're 16, 17, and it feels like what you imagine a heart attack would feel like. And you're too young to have a heart attack, but you certainly wouldn't think that your government or your doctors or sheriffs signed you up to be a guinea pig for microwave radiation torture. Especially when I was just a person. I was going to study for the ministry. I didn't have enemies. I didn't piss off the police or doctors or anybody. I didn't have any enemies. Nobody. I was just a guinea pig. But for all those years, it was just this constant, just something hitting you, but you don't know what. You don't know if it's psychosomatic or stress. 35 years of that going on and not having anything. It wasn't until I started getting the V2K. And I didn't know, I just knew somebody was screwing with me and sending some technology or something. And you're looking through, somebody's messing with me, and you're looking for a tape recorder or something that somebody's using to, not finding anything. And so for the first time in my life, ever, at the age of what, 45, 46, I went to the police for help because I knew for months they were doing that weird thing with the phone, lifting it up, doing the video. And then they did a couple of street theater where suddenly 25 people, 30 just suddenly, collapse on me all at once with their phone at the bus terminal in Salem, here in Salem, Oregon. And you didn't know what it was, and it just seems like, what the hell? I'm kind of introverted anyway, but it's like, what the hell? I didn't have any enemies, still didn't do anything to create this, and you don't know what it is. I didn't piss anybody off. I didn't do anything to anybody over. I didn't gossip or talk shit about people in chat rooms, even anonymous. I just never did. And I was most friendliest as a guy in my class in 89. And most likely to be teaching scientific creationism. That was my most likely thing in 10 years I'd be doing, teaching creationism. Because I was just a religious kid, studying for the theology and apologetics and ministerial. And they still did this to me in high school. They did this to me in Bible college. And for 30, 35 years, and at least finally at the age of, really at 28, but I started, trying really hard to get something for my side pain. I would just go home after work and have a few beers and try, because nothing I could think of. But then they finally, TENS units, Lidoderm, those TENS units, specialist, steroid shots, anything. And then finally, just pain meds. And at least something kind of took the edge off and helped it. But the thing is, it was damaging, not the medication I was thankful for, but you just wanted to know what it was and solve it. It wasn't until 30 years of that, 20 years of pain medication, but in 2015, where I was still alive, and all this crazy weird stuff with now you know what it is, synthetic telepathy. And that didn't happen yet, but you finally, I got injured because of this stuff. I had to learn to walk again and just about died, but I had to learn to walk again. And in all that time in Dallas, nobody told me what was going on. And it's a very conservative religious town, tons of churches, tons. This is 2015, 2016, when they're talking about draining the swamp. Very conservative, tons of churches talking and chanting about draining the swamp. And unbeknownst to me, they were also planning on getting money from this federal, probably the National Institutes of Health, because those are the people that the FBI is going to for their Havanna syndrome problem, is that they're the National Institutes of Health. They're going to help them, evidently. But suddenly that's what was happening. And there's a lot of people, thousands of us. If you look at the 2011, 2012 bioethics, the White House bioethics, and there's 10 to 12 people, including Dr. Christine Grady, which is Dr. Fauci's wife. She doesn't go by Fauci, but her last name is, Dr. Christine Grady. Grady's she goes by. And she was there. She's like there's Amy Goodman, a gentleman right next to her at the front, and then right next to him with short hair is Dr. Christine Grady. You're all very intelligent people, but the thing is, they know about this. They're not a legal board; they're an ethics board, bioethics. So they're trying to look at if something is right morally, and it's like, well, it's like a pretend thing. President Obama started this to make sure that medications and stuff that's used on everyday people as guinea pigs, pharmacological companies that are using its everyday people to try out their medications without letting them know, to see what works, what doesn't work, to see, and just as guinea pigs, including children, babies, not even telling their parents, and to see which pig valves work on a heart or pacemakers. But this is torture tech. This is technology purely, it's military stuff that's given to local police departments and to use on their everyday people, not even bad criminals, just everyday people, just random, evidently, they say. And this is torture technology to destroy your personality, to destroy your ability to, your normal personality, your thinking, your feeling, your hope, any optimistic, positive stuff. And it's done to see how long you last. And to think, I mean, I would have bet my entire year's savings that it wouldn't happen in a town like where I was raised, Dallas. It's a conservative, religious, very proud of its religious, conservative um, way of life, right and wrong, and all this. And you know what I'm talking about. No way would they go along with this. Very much believes in law enforcement. They're good people and more of a Fox News type of town than a CNN. I mean, liberals and humanists are allowed, which I appreciate both sides. I've studied fundamentalist apologetics as well as humanist apologetics, so I'm very comfortable talking to both. But you think they wouldn't do that. Liberals are kind and loving and, you know, bleeding heart, and they wouldn't allow torture. Or, that's what you're raised with. And now has an extra eye of scrutiny on the police after George Floyd. But they're still doing this. They're still going along with this. And after 30 years of this stuff, you would think there's no way that they would go along with this. And they are. I don't know how much money they were given, but the idea of money for torture, like the Spanish Inquisition, all these religious people torturing people, knowing that they're torturing somebody, to get more money for a hospital, or more doctors getting more money for their retirement, or dead peasants in life insurance, and just hoping that the person dies before they find out what happened. I mean, their kids and grandkids will find out about this, and knowing that they went along with this, knowing they are actually paying people to come in. They didn't do this on a one-time accident. I got drunk and did something stupid. They pay people to come in daily, every day for years, to do this on shifts, 8-hour, 12-hour, I don't know. But they pay people to come in every day and do this in shifts. And they'll do it tomorrow too, and the next day, until the person dies. Or it's just ridiculous. I think Robert Duncan's book, The Matrix, you can read it on PAX International books, ebooks. That's on there too. PAX International has got some good books that you can read that just free. It's right there. So that's PACTSINTL, I think, .com, .org, maybe .com. But it's worth looking into, and helpful is Targeted Justice. They also have the top 100 websites for targeted individuals. This stuff is actually used by the military for crowd control. So I don't know if they're hoping that we get pissed off and have another January 6th and they can try their weapons out on us, because they're doing this also in Poland, Madrid, Spain, Japan, on Relax TV, whatever channel it is. But they're doing this to everybody. And it's direct, and there's so many of us that they had to, you know, have the FBI have it happen, or Kamala Harris's people, or the CIA director, all these different FBI, CIA people overseas complaining of the exact same thing, except for B2K and synthetic telepathy. So that if we call them and say that we're complaining of this and the other stuff, then, oh, well, that's a different criteria. That's a different compartment. So we can't get their compensation. You know, we don't get the help or the compensation. And in my case, yeah, I feel dumb, because for 30 years, I never would have thought. I knew something was wrong, but I never would have thought that my own city hall would be part of it. And even in high school and going to Bible college, and just like, they're fuckers. I mean, they can, all this self-righteous, and I thought they were good people. And boy, it's just, they're just a bunch of capitalists. And it's like with COVID, you notice when in January and when Trump, they all had that meeting and they all found out about how bad COVID was. And none of these senators or congressmen or women, none of them tweeted out to their people, their constituents, their voters, this is going to happen. They all, a lot of them just went to the stock market, made trades and made money and gave up bad stocks. But there wasn't some big, let's warn people. Instead, there was this cover up. It's going to go away. Look at Fauci. It's going to go away. It's not that big of a deal. Dr. Drew. I mean, they just kept it going. It's almost like a fake reality world that you would never believe. There's enough honest people out there, truthful people. And you're just like people that actually put their ethics or something. I mean, you don't even have to be all that a goody two shoes, just basic honest. And it's very eye opening. Of course, I say this as a single person without kids. So, but just the idea of torturing somebody, it makes you realize with all this technology, we're not too far from the Spanish Inquisition happening again. And the people that you elect that you thought would be a Paul Revere and say, hey, the English are, the British are coming, or people that would warn. Evidently, if they get paid enough, they get paid to look the other way and not warn anybody. They'll just look at their stock tips. Anyway, there's some good people in the target individual community. And there is a lot of good people out there, but sometimes I don't mind just admitting that I was wrong on how the people are in my own town. And if I get angry, it's good to, feel, because that's the one thing they try to do is try to get you to not feel anything with all these directed at, especially to your heart. Your brain and your heart is to deaden your senses. And whatever anger you do feel, hopefully they're trying to get you to react, punch somebody, get locked up, psych eval or something, and to destroy your life. So anyway, I'll talk to you guys later. I'm going to go make dinner for my mom. So, all right, I'll talk to you later. Bye. I think that's it.